Welcome to AITS Podcast on AI Security. In this episode, we will look into mitigation strategies and best practices to effectively protect AI systems from getting compromised. Let's get started.
Hey learner, ready for a deep dive into something super relevant? Today we're tackling how to make AI safer.
And we're not just talking about robots tripping over themselves. This is about making sure AI systems are tough enough to withstand attacks, even really clever ones.
Yeah, no AI toddlers bumping into furniture here. We're talking serious security stuff, especially since we're relying on AI for such crucial things these days.
Exactly. Finance, healthcare, the stakes are high. Building secure AI isn't just a tech issue anymore. It's about protecting our entire way of life.
And you've been taking notes, learner, on mitigation strategies and best practices, so let's dig in.
Absolutely. First up, outsmarting the AI adversary, which starts by understanding adversarial attacks.
Okay, adversarial attacks. It sounds ominous, but to be honest, I'm a little fuzzy on the specifics.
So picture this. You've got an AI trained to detect fraud, right? It's doing great, catching all the shady stuff. But then someone slips it, some altered data, almost impossible to notice.
Wait, like changing a few numbers in a spreadsheet or messing with code? What kind of alterations are we talking?
It could be that subtle, yeah. Like changing a few pixels in an image so small you'd never notice, or tweaking tiny data points in a financial transaction. These tiny changes exploit the way AI models learn. Your notes mention how computer vision systems can get tricked by just adding a bit of noise to an image. Remember that?
Right, like making a self-driving car think a stop sign is something else entirely.
Exactly. That's the danger of adversarial attacks. But the good news is there are ways to fight back. Your notes mention adversarial training. Ever heard of it?
Vaguely. It's like giving the AI a dose of its own medicine, right?
Sort of. We basically train the AI to be more resilient by showing it tons of these adversarial examples, these subtly altered images or data points. Like with the fast gradient sign method or FGSM, we show it thousands of tweaked images, some meant to trick it, others perfectly fine, so it learns to tell the difference.
So it's like training a detective to spot a fake ID. Show them all the tricks and they'll know what to look for.
Exactly. This training makes the AI less likely to fall for those sneaky changes in the real world.
Clever. So we're making our AI more discerning, more suspicious. What other tricks do we have up our sleeves?
Well, your notes also talk about using the power of teamwork, or in AI terms, ensemble methods.
Ah, the old two heads are better than one strategy.
Precisely. Instead of one AI model handling everything, we use several, each trained a bit differently, maybe on different data or with different algorithms.
So each one has its own strengths, its own way of seeing things.
Right. Some might be great at certain types of fraud, others at analyzing specific data. But by combining their predictions, like taking a vote or averaging their outputs, we create a system much harder to fool.
Like a good team, if one member misses something, the others have their back.
Exactly. That's the beauty of ensemble methods. They add redundancy, making our AI more resilient overall. It's a constant arms race, but we're making sure our AI is ready for the challenge.
So we've trained our AI to spot a fake, even if it's really convincing, and we've got them teaming up. But my notes say securing AI isn't just about the code itself. It's got to be more holistic than that, right?
You got it. It's like you can have Fort Knox level security on the vault itself.
But if it's just sitting out in a field, not very helpful.
Exactly. You need an entire ecosystem of security around it.
Okay, so how do we build that fortress for AI?
Well, your notes mentioned continuous monitoring. That's a big one.
So we're talking like 24/7 surveillance, motion detectors.
That's the idea. Imagine systems constantly checking the AI's performance, every bit of data it processes, looking for anything out of the ordinary.
Like red flags that a human might miss, but the system picks up on.
Exactly. Say the AI suddenly starts misclassifying things it usually gets right, or there's weird activity in the data it's accessing. Those are signs of a potential attack.
And then what? The system sounds the alarm.
You got it. Alerts human operators or even triggers automated responses. The key is catching it early, before any real damage is done.
Makes sense. Be proactive. But even with all that, isn't it smart to find the weak spots ourselves before someone else does?
Now you're thinking like a security pro. That's where penetration testing comes in.
Right. Ethical hacking. I always found that a bit ironic. Please break into our system.
It seems counterintuitive, but it's essential. These ethical hackers, they use the same playbook as the bad guys, but with our permission, in a controlled environment.
So we can patch the holes before a real attack happens.
Exactly. It's way better to have a controlled demolition than to wait for an earthquake to reveal the weak points.
This is all feeling very thorough. We're really pulling out all the stops here. But with so much to consider, are there any tools or frameworks that can guide us? My notes mention NIST and MITRE. Ringing any bells?
Absolutely. Those are some heavy hitters in the AI security world.
Though a little refresher on what they're all about wouldn't hurt.
No problem.
Haha.
So NIST, the National Institute of Standards and Technology, they've got this risk management framework specifically for AI.
So no matter what kind of AI system you're building, NIST provides a roadmap for identifying and managing the risks.
Exactly. It's broken down into manageable steps, identifying critical assets, implementing security controls. It's an invaluable resource, truly.
Sounds comprehensive. And what about MITRE? What's their approach? They sound a bit more, I don't know, almost sneaky, like getting into the mind of the attacker.
That's a great way to put it. MITRE is all about understanding the tactics bad actors use, especially in cybersecurity. They have this knowledge base, UNIR, ATT, and CK, and it's like a playbook of all the ways someone might try to compromise a system.
Including AI specifically.
Especially AI. So instead of just building general defenses, we can use this knowledge to anticipate specific attacks. MITRE might show that data poisoning, sneaking bad data into the AI's training, is common in, say, healthcare. Knowing that, we can build really targeted defenses.
So it's like AI security chess. We're thinking several moves ahead. This is all great. But how do we actually put this into practice? My notes mention creating a custom security policy, but it seems like a lot to wrangle.
It's definitely where theory meets reality. No more hypotheticals, time to get those hands dirty. We've got all this knowledge, but we need to translate it into action. Specific steps for your unique AI and the risks it faces.
So each policy is going to be different.
Absolutely. A good AI security policy, it's like your battle plan. Outlines data security, who has access to what, how you handle vulnerabilities, even what to do if there's an incident. Every stage of the AI's life cycle needs to be covered.
Right, and my notes stress that someone needs to be in charge of all this. Having a plan's no good if nobody's following it.
100%. You need clear roles. Who's implementing the security? Who's monitoring for threats? Who calls for backup when things go south? Accountability is key.
This has been amazing, but I gotta admit, one thing from the notes still has me a little lost. Zero trust architecture. Sounds intense.
It's a cybersecurity principle that's becoming more and more important, especially with AI becoming so central. Basically, never trust anything automatically, not even if it seems familiar. Always verify.
So even if it's my own AI model trying to access data, it still goes through the ringer.
Exactly. Assume breaches are going to happen. You need those security checkpoints everywhere. Think like border crossings. Just because you passed one doesn't mean you get a free pass through the rest.
It's that old trust but verify, but cranked up to 11.
Exactly. Zero trust removes assumptions and replaces them with constant checks. Much harder for an attacker to slip through, even if they get past one layer.
Wow, this deep dive was really eye-opening. We went from tricking AI to teaming it up, from building fortresses to assuming someone's always trying to break in.
And we just scratched the surface. Securing AI, it's a wild ride, constantly evolving, but absolutely essential.
Because it's not just about the tech, it's about trust, right? Making sure AI is used safely and ethically.
Couldn't have said it better myself. That's what makes this field so exciting. We're not just writing code, we're shaping the future, making sure it benefits everyone.
Well said. Learner, we've given you a lot to digest today, but don't stop here. Keep diving deeper into AI security, keep those questions coming, and keep pushing those boundaries. Until next time.
Thank you for listening to this episode of AITS Podcast on AI Security. If you would like to learn more or would like to have a session for your team, please drop us an email on training@alasad.cloud. Learn more about us on our website, alasad.cloud, that is ALASAD, CLOUD.